Shalom Makyam. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahawah, Bahasham, Yahawashi, Bahasham, Qadash. Taban to the other apostles of great Millstone who teach and rule well, and Shalom to the sincere Archeum, most truth and sincerity. Shalom. In this video, I want to, go into how the seed line is determined by the man. But in this video, I want to go into the book of Judges, and show the account of how the tribe of Benjamin was almost wiped out, and show you that the seed line is determined according to the man. So what I did is, I went on Wikipedia, for a relatively small summary concerning what happened from Judges chapter 19 to Judges chapter 21, which is the account of what eventually led, to the aftermath, of why the tribe of Benjamin was almost wiped out, and to show you that according to the scriptures, that because it was a man that basically were almost all put to death, that was the reason for the tribe of Benjamin to almost disappear. Proving you that, hey, it is the man that upholds the nation. And this is the Wikipedia concerning the Levite's concubine. So this is Wikipedia, and says the episode of the Levite's concubine, also known as the Benjamite War, or the War of Gibeah. So it says, is a biblical narrative in Judges chapter 19 to Judges chapter 21. It concerns a Levite from Ephraim and his concubine who traveled through the Benjamite city of Gibeah, and are assailed by a mob who wish to gang rape the Levite. So basically they wanted to perform sodomitish acts with the Levite man. And it says he turns his concubine over to the crowd and they rape her until she collapses. The Levite dismembers her and presents the remains to the other tribes of Israel. Outraged by the incident, the tribes swear that none shall give his daughter to the Benjamites for marriage, and launch a war which nearly wipes out the clan, leaving only 600 surviving men. And if I want to quickly go to Judges chapter 20 and verse 46, because this is talking about how many eventually fell of the tribe of Benjamin. So it says, so that all which fell that day of Benjamin were 25,000 men that drew the sword. All these were men of valor. So 25k or 25,000 men of Benjamin were put to death, during the war amongst the tribes, due to what happened to the Levite's concubine. And it says, verse 47, but 600 men turned and fled to the wilderness unto the rock Rimmon, and abode in the rock Rimmon 4 months. So eventually only 600 men, they survived the slaughter that took place. Even though Benjamin, he withstood, the other tribes, a couple of times, eventually they were almost wiped out. So back to the Wikipedia. And it says, outraged by the incident, the tribes swear that none shall give his daughter to the Benjamites for marriage, and launch a war which nearly wipes out the clan, leaving only 600 surviving men. However, the punitive expedition is overcome by remorse, fearing that it will cause the extinction of an entire tribe. They circumvented the oath by pillaging and massacring the city of Jabesh Gilead, none of whose residents partook in the war or in the vow, and capturing its 400 maidens for the Benjaminites. the 200 men still lacking women are suddenly allowed to abduct the maidens dancing at Shiloh. So what I want to do now is I want to read Judges chapter 21 all the way into the end, go into it, grab a couple of scriptures to back up my point concerning that it's the man that establishes the the family tree, the tribes and the nations that that's determined by the man and not the female. So this is Judges chapter 21 and verse 1. Now the man of Israel had sworn in Mizpah, saying, There shall not a man of us give his daughter unto Benjamin to wife. And the people came to the house of the Most High, and abode there still, even before the Most High, and lifted their voice and wept sore. So, the other tribes, they basically, they put an oath there, saying, we're not going to give our daughters to the tribe of Benjamin, meaning if their nation is going to be slaughtered, they're not going to be able to procreate, basically. Verse 3, and said, O Lord Yahawah, the power of Israel, why has this come to pass in Israel, that there should be today one tribe lacking in Israel? Because the 600 man, is a very small number. And if they would not have had the possibility to procreate with females, eventually if the man died, that would be it. Because grabbing Numbers chapter 1 and verse 18. It says, And they assembled all the congregation together on the first day of the second month. And they declared the pedigrees after the families by the house of the fathers, according to the number of names from 20 years old and upward by their poll. So when they, came together, concerning going to war, if I'm correct. Let me see. So when they assembled themselves together, they did so according to the to the house of the fathers, basically according to the family tree. I'm showing you that it's the man that upholds the nation. The men are not there no more. Then your nation stops existing. Back in Judges chapter 21 and verse 4. And it came to pass on the morrow that the people rose early and built there an altar and offered burnt offerings and peace offerings. And the children of Israel said, Who is there among all the tribes of Israel that came not up with the congregation unto the Lord Yahawah? For they had made a great oath concerning him that came not up to the Lord Yahawah to Mizpah, saying, He shall surely be put to death. And the children of Israel repented them for Benjamin their brother, and said, There is one tribe cut off from Israel this day. Showing you that eventually they felt sorry for what they had done. Verse 7, How shall we do for wives for them that remain, seeing we have sworn by the Lord Yahawah that we will not give them of our daughters to wives? So among themselves they said, we're not going to give our wives to them. Verse 8, and they said, What one is there of the tribe of Israel that came not up to Mizpah to the Lord Yahawah? And behold, there came none of the camp from Jabesh Gilead to the assembly. For the people were numbered, and behold, there were none of the inhabitants of Jabesh Gilead there. And the congregation sent thither 12,000 men of the valiantest, and commanded them, saying, Go and smite the inhabitants of Jabesh Gilead with the edge of the sword, with the women and the children. And this is the thing that ye shall do. Ye shall utterly destroy every male and every woman that hath lain by men. So those that did not come up with them to Mizpah, they were they were put to death. When they took down the men, and the women that had lain with men, so they would just have the virgins remaining, which those virgins, they will be given to the Benjamites. If we read on, verse 12, and they found among the inhabitants of Jabez Gilead 400 young virgins that had not known any man by laying with any male. They brought them into the camp to Shiloh, which is in the land of Canaan. And the whole congregation sent some to speak to the children of Benjamin that were in the rock Rimmon, and to call peaceably unto them. And Benjamin came again at that time, and they gave them wives which they had saved alive for the women of Jabez Gilead, and yet so they sufficed them not. So, we know that 600 men were remaining from the battle that took place. And in Jabez Gilead, only 400 young virgins were available, to be given to the tribes of Benjamin. It's like to the tribe of Benjamin. But if you do the math, 600 minus 400 is 200, meaning that 200 men of the tribe of Benjamin, would not, have a wife to lay down with and to procreate with, to rebuild the nation. So those 400 young virgins were not enough. Verse 15, and the people repented to them for Benjamin, because that the Lord Yahawah had made a breach in the tribes of Israel. Then the elders of the congregation said, how shall we do for wives for them that remain, seeing the women are destroyed out of Benjamin? So only those 400 men were left. The females from the tribe of Benjamin were gone. And also the 400 was not enough, for the 600 in total. When the other nations, they didn't, the other tribes, they didn't want to give their daughters to wife to them, because of the oath that was made. So they were basically saying like, hey, how are we going to fix this up? How are we going to make sure that, we're gonna set this right? Verse 17, and they said, there must be an inheritance for them that be escaped of Benjamin, that the tribe be not destroyed out of Israel. Howbeit, we may not give them wives over daughters, for the children of Israel have sworn, saying, cursed be he that giveth a wife to Benjamin. Then they said, behold, there is a feast of the Lord Yahawah in Shiloh, yearly in the place which is in the north side, on Bethel on the east side, on the highway that goeth up from Bethel to Shechem, and on the south of Lebanon. Therefore they commanded the children of Benjamin, saying, go and lie wait in the vineyards, and see and behold, if the daughters of Shiloh come out to dance in dances, then come ye out of the vineyard, and catch you every man his wife of the daughters of Shiloh, and go to the land of Benjamin. You see, so eventually they told the tribe of Benjamin, like, hey, okay, so there's a feast going on over there, and when when those virgins come out, when those females come out, just grab them up, and take them home. Verse 22, and it shall be when their fathers or their brethren come unto us to complain, that we will say unto them, be favorable unto them for our sakes, because we reserve not to each man his wife in the war. Because usually when there's a war, there's also spoil, and all those wives, were slain from the tribe of Benjamin, and they were not given any spoil neither, For ye did not give them unto them at this time, that ye should be guilty. Because the oath that was made was like, he that giveth his daughter to them, cursed shall he be. But what happened? They told the tribe of Benjamin, like, hey, snatch them up. Snatch them up. That means that the people of Shiloh, where that feast was kept, those people didn't give it. Their daughters were taken away from them. You see, so there's difference, which means that, these people were not guilty, concerning the oath, even though their daughters were with the Benjamite. Verse 23, and the children of Benjamin did so, and took them wives according to the number of whom they danced, whom they caught. And they went and returned unto their inheritance, and repaired the cities, and dwelt in them. And the children of Israel departed thence at that time, every man to his tribe and to his family. And they went out from thence, every man to his inheritance. Let's see. That was basically, the point concerning what happened eventually with the tribe of Benjamin in order for them to be replenished. Because like I showed you in Numbers chapter 1 and verse 18, the nation, the lineage is determined according to the man and not to the woman, the female, better said. And this is also shown in the book of Samuel, where eventually our nation, was numbered, which is against, the will of the Heavenly Father, But those scriptures do show you, like, it is according to the man, Salakia. This is 2 Samuel chapter 24 and 1. And again the anger of the Lord Yahawah was kindled against Israel, and he moved David against them to say, go number Israel and Judah. So, there came a time when the Most High was angry, with us, and the Most High persuaded King David, through Satan, by the use of Satan to number the children of Israel, which we're not supposed to measure our people. We're not supposed to count them. So that basically was a sin, which the Heavenly Father also judged our people for. So this is verse 9. It's like a verse 2. For the king said to Joab, the captain of the host which was with him, go now through all the tribes of Israel, from Dan even to Beersheba, and number ye the people, that I may know the number of the people. So here King David asks Joab, to number the people, to number the people of the nation of Israel. If you jump down to verse 9, we get the information concerning, who that is speaking about. Verse 9, and Joab gave up the sum of the number of the people unto the king. So, this is what it's going to say. And there were in Israel 800,000 valiant men that drew the sword. And the men of Judah were 500,000 men. This shows you that when Joab, he named the people, when he numbered our nation, he did so according to the men, and not according to the females. And to be more precise, he did so according to those that were able to put up swords and bucklers, from 20 years old and upward, because that's the age, that you're fit for war. So going back to the book of Judges, as I tried to explain from the beginning, it's like the tribe of Benjamin was almost wiped out, and that was due because only 600 men were remaining. We can even find out that all the women are destroyed out of Benjamin, being that only those men were remaining. They were the ones that were upholding the nation, like the tribe of Benjamin. This is Judges chapter 21 verse 16. Then the elders of the congregation said, how shall we do for wives for them that remain, seeing the women are destroyed out of Benjamin? Only the Benjamite men, the 600 Benjamite men, were available. Only those were available, and they had to be replenished by females. And, you know, like I said, you are what your father is, you see. According to Numbers chapter 1 and 18. And our nation is determined by the man, as we also read in 2 Samuel chapter 24. And that's the same reason that Pharaoh commanded the midwives to basically remove, the man children as soon as they were born. So this is Exodus chapter 1 and verse 8. Now there arose up a king over Egypt, as like a new king over Egypt, which knew not Joseph. And he said unto his people, Behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. So the new king, that arose over Egypt, he knew not Joseph, because Joseph, he used to be a very well renowned and known man. He was the he was the second greatest next to Pharaoh. But then there rose up a king that knew nothing about Joseph, who he was, and who the family of Joseph was, the nation of Israel. Verse 9, he said unto his people, Behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. They saw that we were strong, buff, and that we will be able to overtake them, if this would go on. Verse 10, Come on, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply, and it come to pass that when there falleth out any war, they join also unto our enemies and fight against us, and so get up out of the land. So eventually they put us in rigor, hardcore slavery. With everything they did was with rigor, strenuous labor, burdens, and things like that. But this is verse 15. And the king of Egypt spake to the Hebrew midwives, of which name of the one was Shiphrah, and the name of the other Puah. And he said, When you do the office of a midwife to the Hebrew women, and see them upon the stools, if it be a son, then ye shall kill him. But if it be a daughter, then she shall live. And the reason that Pharaoh said is because he knew that the nation is established by the man. The man upholds the nation. The man is able to protect, both the women and the children. If you don't have that, there's no way that children and females are able to protect themselves. Also, the females, they receive the seed. They are the ground. The man puts his seed in the ground, which is the womb, and eventually, comes out what the man is. That's what Pharaoh knew as well. That's why he wanted to kill the man child. So that's why he wanted the sons to be killed. So, a small summary concerning this lesson. I wanted to take use a different angle to show how the seed line is determined according to the man, and that the man upholds the nation. And if there are no more men left, that means that the nation is basically gone. Which, that's one of the reasons why it says that, concerning Esau, Edom, the so-called white men, that eventually there shall be no more root nor branch among his, what is it? Job. Go on, this is Job chapter 18 verse 19. He shall neither have son nor nephew among his people, nor any remaining in his dwellings. Because eventually, concerning the judgment that will come upon Esau, Edom, and so white men upon the earth, the whole nation is going to be exterminated. All the men and the females are going to be done away with. But the men have the power to repopulate their nation. You're only as strong as the man that you have in your nation. You see, if you have one man in your nation, then you're one man strong. Don't matter how many females you have in your nation. So, going back to the summary, Judges chapter 21 19, 20, and 21 explain us what happened to the tribe of Benjamin, how they were almost rooted out. They were almost extinguished, exterminated, Salakia. They were the ones, the men were the ones that upholded the nation. All the females of that nation, of the tribe of Benjamin, were gone. So they needed to to provide them with wives in order to repopulate their their nation. You see. So, Lord willing, this lesson was edifying, and I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahawah, Bahasham, Yahawashi, Bahasham, Qadash. Double honors to the elder apostles of great Millstone who teach and rule well, and shalom to the sincere archangels, truth and sincerity. Shalom.